from Las Vegas, and welcome to the EOG Sports Hour. John Kelly with you on a Tuesday night. Glad to be representing EOG. The three letters stand for Ion Gaming, EOG.com, a website dedicated to the hearts and minds of sports bettors everywhere. Two of our loyal EOG contributors featured on tonight's program, Alan Dinkenson in studio every Tuesday night with me here at KLAV AM 1230 in Las Vegas. Dink, a 61-year-old professional sports gambler in Las Vegas, originally from Queens, now living here in Las Vegas. Great to have him here. We're going to ask him about sports betting in Atlantic City. I didn't prep him for this question, so I'm interested in hearing his thoughts on the prospects of sports betting coming to New Jersey and at Monmouth Park. Yeah. Specifically, Dink has experience on both coasts, so he'll offer an interesting perspective. And also on tonight's program, one of Dink's good friends, a friend of mine as well. His first name is Eddie. At EOG, we call him Drinkyourmilkshake, 35-year-old professional gambler, and gambles on sports, poker, been gambling lately on backgammon and a little gin. Drinkyourmilkshake knows college football, and he's here to compete against Dink in a one-on-one football handicapping showdown. This should be fun. 7 games from each handicapper. The handicapper with the higher winning percentage will be declared the winner of this showdown. They may select pro games or college games, sides or totals. And should be a fun hour as we talk pro and college football with Dink and Drink. Let's lead off with Dink. Dink, what about the prospects of legalized sports betting in the state of New Jersey?
It's political, so I have no idea. If it comes, I was amazed that it was going to be an independent sportsbook and not a William Hill. So I wonder if they could just copy or move their numbers. I can't believe that the government could take a hit if games fall 3. And, it's not easy to run a sports book. It might be a parlay card only system. I'm curious of what they'll do, because I can't believe they're going to make it like, the Hilton, the Westgate, and give everybody a fair shake, because they risk getting annihilated, not knowing what they're doing and how to move a line. So it's fascinating if that goes through. Now, there's an injunction by the 4 leagues. That's the last thing I heard this morning. So I don't know if that's going to get through this weekend or not.
Our friend 50 Cent was reporting that they might only take $100 wagers as their limits. There's a lot of speculation.
Well, that would be akin to what Florida did with poker, which lasted until they realized how much more they can make it if they take $1,000 pots instead of $100 pots, and playing no limit hold'em where everybody throws in 100 and then the best hand wins is not exactly a game of skill either. So,
and it's not the worst thing to do early either. The baby steps.
Well, to get a feel for the thing, they're going to lose some people who really want to bet. They're going to find another place to bet. $100 bettors are the bettors who don't have a bookmaker because they're too small. So now they're eligible to go bet at the track. It's kind of odd. I can see it, but I know they'll have to accommodate bigger bets somewhere down the line.
May of last year, William Hill signed a deal with Monmouth Park to be their agent. But you're hearing now that William Hill might not be taking the bets.
I read that on EOG, so I know everything that's ever on EOG is always 100% accurate. But I'm pretty sure the person who said it was strongly quoted something to say that it's true. Monmouth Park was going to run the sportsbook.
You're listening to the EOG Sports Hour. John Kelly with both Alan Dinkenson and Drinkyourmilkshake. Eddie, a 35-year-old gambler from Denver, Colorado. Eddie, good evening. Welcome to the program. You've been on in the past. I know a lot of those in the EOG community, a lot of those gamblers in the EOG community really respect your college football opinion. Welcome back to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me, John.
And we're glad you're here because there was a chance back in late July you might not be able to make an appearance with us in the fall. What an odyssey for you, Eddie. Explain exactly what happened. July 30th of this year, you were in just outside of Denver on a 4-hour hike. You had planned to take a short hike in preparation for a longer hike. And tell us about that odyssey.
Yeah. I do 14ers, which is 14,000-foot mountains, and I've hiked since I was probably 17, 18 years old. I've done 27 major hikes in my life, and I've done 7 14ers in the state of Colorado and numerous 13ers throughout the country, and it's just something I really, really enjoy doing. And you have to train year-round in order to do 14ers. You have to get your lungs right, and I had a surgery done in January to get my breathing exercises right and to get a nasal cavity fixed. It had been pretty harmed by all the hiking that I've done over the years. And this was just a normal day. I was just going to go do about a 4-hour training session on Mount Evans. They have a place where you can drive, and you go all the way up to about 9,000 feet. And then you do the other 5,000, and it's kind of recreational. It's not for the weary or somebody that's out of shape or anything like that, but I try to do it like once a week. I'd done this particular mountain about 30 times in my life. And I got up there around 10 a.m. in the morning, and I left my truck. And I thought to myself, God, it sure is hot today. I don't even think I need a sweatshirt, but I'll bring one just in case. And I threw it in my Camelback and made sure that I had 10 gallons of water like I always do.
And you were by yourself? You were by yourself?
I was by myself. I hike alone for the most part, especially, during the summer months. I don't normally need a group, but I do prefer to go with a group just in case something would ever happen. And but on this particular instance, I just thought it was such a leisurely hike that I really didn't need any. I didn't need anybody. And I got up there at around 10:30, 10:40 is when I sent a text message to the partner that I always go with, and we always check on each other because he does some hiking alone as well. And I had said to him at 4 o'clock, I'll talk to you at 4. We had plans to have dinner that night. And I said at 6 o'clock, if you don't hear from me, that's panic time. We always say that to each other. And it's more of just a joking reference. And I started on my hike, and about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the rain had really, really started to pick up. It was really, really bad. And I thought to myself, wow, this is kind of unusual. This early, usually thunderstorms only happen around 3:30. And it was kind of unexpected. And out of nowhere, I just got to the part of the trail where there were just trees and rocks everywhere. And I thought to myself, that's just insane. I don't know what's going on with this trail. So I had to either go right or left. So my thinking was I'll go left, and if, for a couple hundred yards, and if I don't retrace the trail, then I'll go back. So I go a couple hundred yards, and then I hit, nothing, just straight shrub and tree and everything else. And I decided to head back to where I originally was on the trail, and I could not find my trail at all. And so there was a very large rock enclave. It was about 100 feet tall. And I got to the top of it. I climbed to the top, and I tried to find my trail from up above, and I realized right then that I was probably fighting for my life if I didn't find this trail. So I did about an hour and a half back and forth in this area trying to find a trail, and around 3 o'clock I realized I had to do something. So I went directly all the way down the side of the mountain, sliding on my butt and trying to just keep my balance. And my thinking was if I got to this river, there's a river on Mount Evans, if I got to this river, then I could just take the river all the way down until I had either a larger body of water or until I could spot some whitewater rafters. And once I got to the river, I didn't realize how impossible the terrain would be. It was soaking at this point. It was coming down so hard that I couldn't see maybe 4 or 5 feet in front of me. And, I would find these openings, and I would just run as fast as I possibly could along the side of the river. And I fell into the river a couple of times, and I was getting beaten up pretty bad. Started calling 911 at around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, knowing that I was really, really lost and just in bad shape. And I had no signal, obviously. I just kept on trying, and it was a very, very desperate attempt to try and find a larger body of water. So I just kept on going down this, down, further and further as fast as I possibly could. And at 6 o'clock, you kind of have to make a decision because you're running out of sunlight. Either do you keep on this path or do you get up, higher? And it was a really unfortunate thing, but I couldn't even get up higher because there were so many rocks and other boulders in my way. So I panicked, and I got up as high as I possibly could, and I hit this brick, this very, very large rock wall. And I don't have a lot of climbing experience, but in a sort of an act of desperation, I got to the top of it. It took me about an hour and 15 minutes. At 7:20, I got to the very top of this, and I looked at my phone, and I had automatically been redialing 911 every 15, 20 minutes, and I had a half a bar of service. And I started calling 911 and just sprinting up this hill. And I have a screenshot. I'll put it on EOG, but I called 911 142 times that day. Wow. And at 7:40, I finally got through. And we broke up several times, and it was a very panicky thing. The woman couldn't really understand what I was saying. And finally I got through in completion. And she said, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to send out a rescue team. but you have to try and stay on the phone with me, which is impossible. I move 2 feet this way and it hangs up, and vice versa. Anyways, she finally called me back, and she said, okay, I'm going to transfer you over to Alpine Rescue Team, and you need to stay on the phone, stay right where you are. And this guy got on the phone, and I'll never forget it. He said, you're not going to die. That was the first thing he said to me. He said, you got to stay calm, and you're not going to die. I'm not going to let you die. You're not going to die today. And I said, okay.
Did that cross your mind? Eddie, had that crossed your mind?
Oh, yeah. No. As a hiker, you hear of people dying. More people die in Colorado than on mountains in Colorado than they do on Mount Everest every single year. And, you read about in the newspaper, you hear of searches going on. It's constant. And, it's just one of those things where you don't hike alone and you take precautions. And I'd taken very good precautions even on this trip. I had rain gear, I had lots of water, and I had my cell phone, which has a compass on it. Unfortunately, what you don't realize is that compasses these days are GPS coordinated. So your cell phone with a compass on it, if you're in the mountains, is useless. Anyways, he says to me, I've got your coordinates here. Can you tell me where you are? And I said, well, it's really loud. I can barely hear you. I'm by a river. And he said, you're by a river? And I said, yeah. And he goes, okay, well, your coordinates are showing me in Park County. That's about 40 miles away from any river. And at that point, I really panicked. I said, I'm by a river. The river is very, very loud. I've been walking along it all day long. And he said, I have no idea where you are. So the same man that was telling me that he was going to save me is now telling me he doesn't know where I am. Mm-hmm. So he talked to me for around 15 minutes, and at that point, my cell phone battery was getting low, and I was getting very panicky because I'm thinking to myself, if he doesn't know where I am and I can't talk to him, I can't tell him where I am, what am I going to do? He said, stay right where you are. In about an hour, you're going to start hearing sirens. I need you to hear those sirens. As soon as you hear them, I need you to run towards them. And after 5 minutes, the sirens will go off. There'll be a minute of silence. I need you to start screaming for that entire time. And I said, okay, no problem. So when they hung up on me is when I finally realized exactly how bad of shape I was in. I had my teeth were chattering, and I couldn't stop shaking. And, there's a part of you that realizes this is very, very bad, but there's also a part of you that remembers the phone call and this calming voice telling you that everything's going to be okay.
Did you have food,
so,
Eddie? Did you have food?
I did. I had food. I always bring at least 3 or 4 protein bars and trail mix with me.
And how about
I had some food.
How about your physical condition at this point?
Well, I didn't realize how bad of shape I was in until right around this time, because what had happened is it started getting dark, and he had told me to stay right where I am. It's raining so hard that I can't see more than 3 or 4 feet in front of me, and I'm completely drenched, head to toe. I took off my shoes and I wrung my socks out, and it was just, it was unbelievable how much water I was just completely covered in. And I was so cold, I was afraid to take my clothes off and wring off, any more than I already had. Anyways, about an hour goes by, and I there's this part that I don't think that people realize, but when you have hypothermia, your body is telling you to give up. It gets very, very miserable, and it just kind of just shuts off. It just wants to give up. It's just in a series of pain, and you go through very weird emotional things. So I'd gotten to a pretty dry place under a tree, and it was when I first heard the first siren. And I got up, and I did exactly what he told me to. I started running as fast as I could. And as soon as I'd go towards a siren, it would turn off, and I'd start screaming. And then another siren would come on, and a minute later, and it'd be in a total opposite direction. So I'd start running in that direction. And I'm falling, and I don't know why I'm falling. I'll give that to you in a minute. But when I finally had stopped listening to the sirens, there was just too many of them, and they were all in different directions, and I had pretty much given up. At this point, it's around 11:30 at night. I've been lost a little bit over 12 hours, or a little bit over 10 hours at this point. So I'm freezing for 7 or 8 hours at this point. And out of nowhere, I just keep on hearing the siren. It's getting closer and closer and closer. So I go to run down this mountain to get closer to the siren, and that's when I realized that because of my adrenaline, I had put myself on a cliff full of rocks. I had just climbed up, and scratched and crawled my way. And adrenaline is a crazy thing. This whole entire ordeal, I was 19 and a half miles away from my truck. So I was fighting for my life for 8 hours, and people don't realize what adrenaline is, how big adrenaline is during this kind of ordeal. But I couldn't do 19 and a half miles in a full day, no matter what. You know, I mean, like if I were to go out right now in the best condition of my life, I could not make it 19 and a half miles running around a track on, you know, in Las Vegas, let alone up a mountain. And the first thing that happened is I heard, you know, do you like the Red Sox? And I'm screaming, yes. You know, it seems like the craziest thing in the world, but what had happened is they had contacted my mother, and my poor mom, God bless her, they asked the mother or the father questions to keep the person that's in danger calm. So they asked her what my favorite sports team was, and they said the Boston Red Sox, and you know, so these are the kind of questions I'm hearing, and I'm thinking, what kind of nut job is out here? You know, am I hallucinating? Of course I like the Red Sox, you know, whatever. So about an hour of this goes by, where he's screaming across the valley, and I'm screaming back at him. And out of nowhere, it was, to this day, the most incredible thing. I just saw this flash of light, and it was blue, and I was like, what the heck is that? And it was Dave, the man that saved my life, and he was about a mile away from me, and he never uses an actual big-time flashlight like most people do. He knows the mountain so well that he really doesn't even need a flashlight. He just keeps it so that way he can, you know, people can see the flashlight and stay calm. So he keeps on talking to me, and that's when I realized how far up I really was. And he asked me if I was injured, and I said no. And he said, okay, come towards me then. And there's a part of you that realizes that now you're saved and your body relaxes, and that was when I took the first step, and I just fell immediately. What had happened is I had gotten frostbite in both of my feet very, very badly, and I couldn't keep balance. So I would take 2 steps and fall, take 2 steps and fall. And he said, you're just going to have to wait there for me. And he got all the way up to me. It took him about 40 minutes to get up. Just, you know, we're only separated by like 100 feet, which is so frustrating from a person that's, you know, thinking that they might die. And, you know, why can't he just come quicker? And why can't I just go quicker, you know? But he has to go through brush, and he has to go around trees. Anyways, he got to me. And he said, all right, we got to go now. Do you need a gurney? And I said, no, I don't need a gurney. I just need you to help me. You know, I can't see very well. It's so pitch black out here. And he says, you don't need to see. I've got you. Just hang on to my arm. And I'd take 2 steps and fall. And it was funny because he would never let me get discouraged. He'd just say, okay, come on now. Let's go. You know, we're on the clock. You know, I don't know what your problem is. So it was funny in that regard. It took us about an hour and a half to get back to his truck, which is an off-road vehicle. And Alpine Rescue does amazing work. I can't even express how lucky I am in everything that they do. What they do basically, I thought there was like 2 people out looking for me. There was 25 people out looking for me. They do this free of charge every single night of their life. And I remember we got into his truck, and he's driving, and I said, man, you just saved my life. And he said, no, people like you have been saving my life for years. And I really hit home. And so we got up to the top of the road, and that's when everybody was there. And there's like 25 rescue workers, and they all come over. And you know, I was so in shock, you know. And at that point, you realize that you're very, very ill, because I was fighting for my life for a really long time, but you don't realize the pain you're in because you know you're fighting for so long. I couldn't stand, I couldn't walk, so they carried me into another truck, and that truck took me back to my truck, where I could get my belongings away. I tried offering them all the money I had on me. They wouldn't take a dime. They don't take cash donations. They don't even really care about money. They need money to operate, but it's a very little expense. You know, I'm asking the forum to help, but you don't have to help with a humongous donation or anything like that. But they do God's work. You know, they save people's lives every single day, and they don't ask for anything. Oh, they really, you know, they do this out of the kindness of their heart, and because most of them have been hikers their whole life and have gotten into an experience like this.
What a pick of it. We're glad you're out of it, Eddie. What a journey and odyssey. AlpineRescueTeam.org is the website if you want more information on the crew that saved Eddie's life. The Denver Post reported on this story late July, early August. He told us almost 20 miles, nearly 17 hours. Glad to have Drink Your Milkshake with us. You were so good to us, too. I remember in the summer, Eddie, you spent an hour with us on the radio talking college football. Your preview was outstanding. And the moral of this story, then, not only do you want to promote AlpineRescueTeam.org, but what else do you learn from this odyssey?
for my
Oh my
six-pack,
goodness,
I'm
so
gonna
many
take.
things. It's a great thing to go through something like this at a young age, where you get to realize how lucky you are. 14 days later, I was on a plane to Brazil. It's amazing. I have great friends and family, and I'm just a very fortunate person. And a lot of the times, people take that for granted. And I don't know. I'm extremely blessed. I have great people in my life, and I'm making more friends and having more great people in my life on a daily basis, it feels like.
How much of gambling is part of your life, Eddie? Did it change your views on gambling?
No. Well, yes and no. Gambling is a way to make a living, but, it doesn't have to be your entire life. You still have to get out there and do things with it. That's why I got into hiking in the first place. You always need a place to escape. And, it doesn't make a difference what you do. You always have to have good people around you. And, the world's full of love, and there's just a lot of places that I think that everybody needs to see. I'm going to Nicaragua in January. I really just want to see more of the earth, I want to see what I almost missed.
How's this college football season treating you?
It's been very, very hard. I'm up a minuscule amount, but this is a very, very trying year. There's a lot of parity in college football in every single conference this year, and the lines maker was changed this year. There's somebody new doing it, and he over-adjusts and under-adjusts on just about everything. He overreacts on a lot of stuff, and you think that would make life easy, but the game's still got to get played. I'm beating the closing number in incredible amounts this year, and the results aren't what I want.
Who's the lines maker you're talking about?
Well, they changed the lines maker this year. I don't have a lot of inside information, but the opener used to be done by Chris, and it's not anymore.
Who do you trust as the opening numbers?
Well, I loved when Chris did it. I thought that they were very, very good, and I didn't have a lot of numbers that weren't off, but the few numbers that I did have off, they Chris is the best. I don't think that anybody will argue that. That's been using them for a while. They'll let you bet a decent amount. They don't kick you out if you win, and they had a really, really good opening market. The last 2 or 3 years, and this new market, this new guy, whoever he is or whoever she is, I don't necessarily like, because they make me make a lot of plays because their numbers are sometimes off, and they have me second guessing. And this is week 9? Week 9 of college football. Last year, I think if you were to bet openers on Sunday, I think maybe you'd have 3 or 4 plays that would really, really move off the board. This whole board is moving constantly. And so it really makes you start second guessing and overthinking yourself.
And which operation is opening the numbers? You said Chris is no longer the.
I think Dink, you would know. Is it Cantor?
Cantor or Wynn put up the numbers first, but I wouldn't say they're opening the numbers because they're just take nickels. It's maybe a dime.
Yeah. Bet Online is the one.
They're another one. But the ones that Chris is still the opener to me, because that's when you can make a lot bigger.
Well, me too, but they're not the originator right now, it doesn't feel.
But they put up their numbers. They just want other people to go first, and then they put up their numbers. And their numbers get copied. Everything moves to their numbers once they put them up.
It's troubling
if
to
you
me.
have somebody at the Wynn or Cantor and you have an opinion, you can get down for $1,500. It's not so bad, but it's not open to the public. It's open to people who are in a certain hotel at the time. Neither of those places have Cantor has an app, but it's not open to the general public. It's just open to the Nevada people with an app. It's not going to matter what happens with those numbers. Those could be bad numbers, but Chris is going to correct them or bring them back to where they were. It's really Chris's line. They just want somebody they're willing to wait till the time they want to open, and if somebody wants to beat them to it, be my guest. That's their attitude.
Right. Yeah, I think that the thing that I've noticed though is it just really frustrates me is because I'll watch the board on a Sunday afternoon at like 3:30, and they'll open up with these great numbers, and then Chris opens, and it feels
I'm going
like
to talk about
gone.
my charity for like 3 minutes. It's
oh yeah, let's talk about your charity, of course.
Well, it's okay. I know I have to stop picking. So it's SCTBRescue.org. It's Southern California Thoroughbred Rescue. It's run by Caroline Betts and her volunteer staff. It's a total nonprofit. They've taken many horses off the racetrack and given them wonderful chances. In fact, today 2 of them got adopted. First time since I've been involved with the charity that 2 horses have got adopted on the same day. So it's a great day for the horses. It's a great day for the charity. I love the people dearly who are involved in this charity. I hate to step on a charity. This is mine, and then yours is yours, and yours is a good one too. But this is the one I represent, and hope to win a contest that's solely for the charity between me and you.
A nice touch. So Dink playing for Southern California Thoroughbred Rescue. That's sctbrescue.org. And Drink is playing for the Alpine Rescue Team, alpinerescueteam.org. Dink, what happened last week?
I won, but I got disqualified for interference by somebody with a 2x4. I don't know. I lost. This is not what I do. I'm a hockey guy. If somebody wanted to play me hockey today, they would have won too. I had a pretty bad day.
It happens. And Generous Jay, a record of 4-3 with a best bet winner, and not only a sharp handicapper, a good guy too.
Yeah, and he gave $200 to SCTB Rescue, so that was very nice of him.
Living up to his
nickname. Win or lose, the charity has been doing well. I think the 3 days, all 3 weeks, for some reason or other, they got a contribution from me or an opponent, which is brilliant. Yeah, that's what I'm doing this for.
Quick check, Game 1 of the 2014 World Series played tonight at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. The Giants beat the Royals 7-1. Madison Bumgarner was brilliant. I mean, just terrific. 25-year-old, stands 6'5", pounds the strike zone, calm and cool, yet wildly competitive at the same time. Giants take a 1-0 series lead and finally put a snap to the Royals' 8-game postseason winning streak this year. The Royals bounce back tomorrow, maybe with Ventura on the hill against the Giants' Peavy. Last night on the program, Eric Strasser, a.k.a. Palm Tree, said he likes the Royals in Game 2. He's going to bet Ventura over Peavy if the price is right. And Mike Corrigan said he liked the Giants to win the series, so he's already out to a 1-0 series lead. Drink Your Milkshake. I mentioned you as a sports bettor. What's your specialty?
College football. I don't make money in anything else. I don't. I don't put the time necessary. I don't put the time forward to make money in anything else. I have a love for college football. I don't know what it is. I can watch it 365 days a year, and I love reading about it. And I like the coaches. I like the plethora of teams. I don't know. It's something else.
Born in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, how is it you made your way to Denver, Colorado?
Well, my family moved here when I was 15, 16 years old. They still have a house there in the Cape Cod area in Sandwich, Mass. And we go out there in the summer just for a couple of weeks. It's a rental property. But, the winters are cold out there, and it's expensive. And the people are, live up to their nickname. And, we're happy here in the mountains where everybody's nice, and we get 300 days a year of sunshine.
It's great to read at EOG.com when Drink Your Milkshake does talk college football. I was surprised to hear that he's not college educated. Drink, you told me no formal education at all, really.
Yeah, no, I chose my own path. I don't know what I was thinking. I moved out young, and at 15 I had a good job telemarketing, and I thought this is the life. And, I don't know. I've kind of found my way. I found poker when I was really young, 22 years old or 21 years old, working menial jobs, and I just happened to stumble into an underground poker room, and the rest is kind of history. I got totally 100% fascinated by the game, and I still am today.
3 quick questions about the college football season, then we'll get to the selections. We'll go commercial-free on this hour-long show tonight, thanks to our sponsors at iongaming.com or EOG.com. I want to say hello to those who work at Bet Online, Bet Mania, also Sports Options, 5 Dimes, Bet DSI, and many others. Florida State this year, Drink, 7-0 straight up, but 1-6 against the spread. What's wrong with the Seminoles?
God, I wish I knew. I haven't bet on them or against them, I don't think, in a single game this year. They just haven't looked convincing, have they? I tell you, the biggest problem I think with Florida State is that they had a lot of really good receivers last year. I don't know if Winston has the same kind of unit, that he had last year to throw the ball to. And I don't know. There's something about this team that just doesn't look focused from week to week. They look really shaky against Wake Forest in the first half, and they're just kind of playing to their opponent's strength at this point, it feels like. I don't know.
Which Mississippi team is better, Ole Miss or Mississippi State? The two to meet in the Egg Bowl Saturday after Thanksgiving, November 29th. Which team is favored on a neutral site?
Oh goodness, Mississippi. It's not even really I don't know if it's really even a question of which one's better. I don't know by how many points. I think I have Mississippi 4 points better than Mississippi State. Mississippi has got like a lot of defense, man. They've created a turnover in 30-something straight games now, and I don't really bet those kind of games, but I tell you, I'm betting them this week. I'm betting against LSU. It's not part of my card. I'll gladly admit it. I just think that they're a really solid all-the-way around team, and they got that Bo Wallace kid. He's a dual threat, and they got a little bit of running game, but more than anything, man, I just don't see how anybody can score on them. And then Mississippi State, they got a weak secondary, and they gave up like 450 yards to UAB earlier this year. And I don't know. There's something about them that just doesn't feel like they're for real to me for some reason yet.
The latest power ratings, the Gold Sheet, have the two teams even. So Drink says, no, that's not right. Mississippi is about a 4-point favorite at a neutral site. Quick point spread story. Drink, TCU is a perfect 6-0 against the spread. UConn, on the other end of the spectrum, winless against the spread, 0-6 ATS. So TCU hasn't lost a bet. UConn hasn't won a bet. How do you handle those teams moving forward?
Well, I mean, you have to be really careful because everything's getting blown out of proportion. I mean, TCU is like 24-point favorites this week against Texas Tech, and Texas Tech is like the same team as Baylor, pretty much, in the fact that they just want to run up and down the field. They don't care much about defense. I don't know. And then UConn, I mean, I don't think that ECU should be a 28-point favorite there. I'm not willing to bet it, but I mean, I don't know. I made the line 24.5, but ECU sitting out like 8 starters this week. They don't seem to even care or pay attention to this game. It's pretty weird. But I don't fade or follow those kind of things. You have to look at every single game individually.
Let's look at the games individually then. Get to the handicapping of the Saturday and Sunday games. It's Drink Your Milkshake against Alan Dinkenson, a one-on-one football handicapping showdown. Drink, play 1 of 7 on the show.
Yeah, I guess number 1, we'll start it off. Number 187 +3, Texas State against ULM. I bet it on Sunday at +3.5, but I still like 3, I think. I know I do. Texas State has a really good offense, man. They can just run away from teams. They hung with Navy. They should have beaten Illinois. They got kind of unlucky there in the last couple of minutes. I think the pressure got to them on the road. And they're yet to be held up under 450 yards. Until last week, I think. I don't know. I mean, they looked really, really bad against Louisiana Lafayette, which is turning out to be an extremely good team, just as predicted. But I think they're going to come in angry, and they don't have a whole lot of defense, but I don't know if that really matters because ULM has, like, no offense. They're starting a quarterback this year for the first time. He's a first-year quarterback, and he's only a sophomore, and he hasn't done well. And they've been getting by running the ball, but now they're all dinged up. They've got an offensive line out. They got an offensive tackle out. They got 2 running backs who are listed as questionable. One of them is their main guy. So I grabbed the 3, and I think I like that bet a lot. Betting
number 187, Texas State, +3 over UL Monroe, the first of 7 plays. From Eddie, we call him Drink Your Milkshake at EOG.com. We go from the 35-year-old professional gambler, Eddie, to the...
Don't mention age. I'm 27.
In fact, you don't look a day under. I'd say they're like 45 years old looking, Dink.
Good. Well, then I look older than I am. I'm 27.
Dink does play young. He thinks young. And you had an interesting brush with fame, Dink, this past weekend.
A friend of mine who's a wrestler at PWG asked me if I had an extra ticket, and I did. And the ticket somehow went to Ronda Rousey, who was... I was as big a PWG fan now as I've ever seen anybody be on their first time, and she was very lovely. And I sat with her for a couple of seats down. We chatted a while, and she had to leave at intermission, and she really regretted it. And she asked me when the next show was, and she was quite the fan and quite a nice person. I had no idea she was nice at all. I knew she was a wrestling fan, but I figured if you're that, focused and dedicated to not, winning first round matches. It was, you'd kind of be a rough kind of girl. She was not like that at all. She had the time of her life, and her and 2 of her friends were diehards. I think they'll all be back as much as they can, which is kind of cool.
Was it 2 female friends?
Yeah, it's part of they have a group called the 4 Horsemen, which is a wrestling takeoff, and 2 of them who were on that show, and Shayna I think was one of them, and I don't remember the other girl's name, which is the girl I ended up sitting next to. They were just very nice people. They were big fans. They kind of got to know some of the fans, and now they're friends with some of the wrestlers. They hung out after I had to leave. I was exhausted, but I couldn't be happier. There's a clip from behind them, and they're all like jumping out of their seats. And the theme of the clip, the theme of the photo, is the people that you mark out for us, which is a great PWG slogan to see. People who have 40 million followers or something on their websites, going crazy, sitting in the front row at PWG. And the little I regret is that this is just going to make the shows more and more and more crowded each time, and there just is no room there. It's an awesome show.
Dink, your first of 7 plays.
That's it. I picked PWG. No, my first is 163 Stanford under 44. It's kind of based on who Stanford played last week and how they played them. Arizona State gets about 80 points in every game, and Stanford and Arizona State look like the two most defensive schools ever. Arizona State is anything but a defensive school, and Stanford couldn't move the ball too much against them at all. I'm not good enough to make a number, but I'm good enough to see something that might have been overrated. I don't see Stanford scoring. They're a 13-point favorite. They're going to have to score 28 points. I can still, and if they win 28-15, I'm still under the number. I highly doubt they're going to score 28, and there's some weather possibilities in Palo Alto. It's a little early to go by what the forecast says, but there should be like 15-mile-an-hour winds. There's a lot of reasons to like under, and there's no real reason to like either side there, so under is my play.
Game 163-164, Oregon State and Stanford under the total of 44. Drink Your Milkshake, play 2.
Play number 2 is 135 plus 9 with Temple. Temple is really good at one thing on each side of the ball. They're really good at stopping the run, and they're pretty good at passing the ball. And they can move the chains. P.J. Walker is their quarterback, and he's a pretty tremendous dual-threat athlete. He can definitely move around some, and he gives them a chance to be on the run at all times. And UCF, as much as I love their coach, he is really, really talented. I think he's probably one of the more underrated coaches in all of college football. They really only have one game plan, and that's to run the ball. Their quarterback has an efficiency rating of like 45% this year. He's not completing a lot of passes. And they have really talented wide receivers. This is going to be a low-scoring game. There's no doubt about it. But instead of taking an under, I really like the underdog in this one. I think the Temple has a chance to maybe win this game outright. They lost last week in kind of an embarrassing fashion to Houston, but Houston can pass the ball, and they pass the ball at will. The quarterback's like 26 to 29 or something like that. UCF doesn't have that weapon. I expect Houston to really come back strong, and they're a really experienced team. They have 18 returning starters from last year. Temple. Temple is a very, very, very experienced team. And they're a little bit young on the defensive line, but I think they get a lot of stops on third down. I take the 9.
So Temple to come back strong off the loss to Houston, betting number 135, Temple plus 9 over Central Florida. Alan Dinkenson, play 2.
My second play is a pro game. It's going to be 256 New England minus 6. I like that because of my dislike for Chicago. There are so many defensive injuries. I thought this line is kind of cheap. I thought 7 was a little bit cheap, and now it's down to 6. Most lines tend to come down further on Sunday, but I think this one will go up. I'm really anti-Chicago, and I'm not quite sure New England is what they were supposed to be, but I think they're closer to what they were supposed to be than Chicago is. Just the better team in a game they need a win, because if they lose this game, they have Denver next week, and that could put them 5-4 and actually jeopardize a lot of their playoff position and even possibly the playoffs. So I think they'll be focused, and I think they're much better. Chicago at home against Miami was pure garbage, and I think this is a good spot and a very cheap number.
Betting number 256, the New England Patriots minus 6 over the Chicago Bears. That'll serve as Dink's second play. Drink, your third.
is 175 USC, and I believe they're -1 now. They were pick when I talked to you earlier.
No, and
either way,
you locked them in at pick 2. When you submit the plays.
No, it's 1.
USC can really they can do quite a few things, and I'm not a big believer in Utah at all. Utah is strictly just a run team. And USC, after that Boston College game, has really bounced back, and they haven't let anybody run on them. They have a defensive tackle and a defensive end who are NFL-bound and All-Americans. And their quarterback, Kessler, has really found his groove of late. They just have too many weapons on offense, and I think that they can stop the run. I don't know why this game is at pick. I made it 3.5, and I'm going to take the easy route and just take a straight-up win. I'm going to take that every single time. They got Jared Allen, the guy who's leading the entire nation, I think, in running at this point in the last 4 or 5 weeks, and he is a beast. And then they got Aguilar. He can field punts, and he can go the distance on any given play. I think USC is the only play in the easy play here.
Fox Sports 1 to televise. The game kicks 7 p.m. Pacific time. Utah make that betting number 175 USC in a pick over Utah out of the Pac-12. Dink, play 3.
Play 3 for me is a total. In the pros, it's 260 Seattle over 44.5 against Carolina. There's no doubt that Carolina's an over team. I'm beginning to think there's no doubt that Seattle is becoming an over team against what I projected and lost a double bet on last week. They gave up a lot of yards to St. Louis, who I'm not quite sure how good they are or not. But I do know that they move the ball well against Seattle, and if they move the ball well, I imagine Carolina will move the ball well, and I know Carolina's lack of defense plays into Seattle's strength. 44.5 is kind of an average total now. This game, to me, should be a higher than average total. It's in Carolina, so the game is only lined at 5, so there's a good chance that there'll be a contest where both teams will need a score in the second half, and it's not a bad play. Not my favorite play of the week, but it's a good over, I think, 44.5.
Game 259, 260, Seattle and Carolina, over 44.5. 3 plays in, 4 more to come. You're listening to the EOG Sports Hour. John Kelly with Alan Dinkenson and Eddie, a 35-year-old professional gambler from Denver, Colorado. They call him Drinkyourmilkshake. We'll ask him about that nickname in the final minutes of the show. Drink your 4th play.
Yeah, 4th play is number 113. It's Boise State -7. I bet it last night at -6.5, but I don't think I mind 7 so much. This really isn't just the Boise State play. It's an anti-BYU play. BYU is absolutely decimated by injuries. I feel just terrible for this team at this point. They lost Taysom Hill, their Heisman candidate at quarterback, and now they're looking like they're going to play without Jamal Williams as their star running back. And their defense can't stop anybody from running the ball. And they just quit last week against Nevada. They had a chance to come back in that game, and the second half was all Nevada. They just absolutely steamrolled them, and Nevada has no business steamrolling BYU, but I don't think that BYU has an answer for anything right now, and they put that poor sophomore quarterback in there last week, and he had to throw the ball 65 times to keep them competitive. Boise's got, an NFL-ready running back, and also they have 5 wins. 6 wins is a big thing in college football. A lot of people overlook that. 6 wins, it guarantees you can get a bowl. And some of these smaller conferences, Boise State's obviously going to play in a bowl, but they can start to rest some of their starters. They will definitely take this game very seriously on a Friday night on ESPN. I'd be Boise State -7.
Betting number 114, Boise State -7 over BYU. Drink Your Milkshake's 4th play. Dink, your 4th.
My 4th play is St. Louis +7, game 257. This one I'm not that quite convinced is a good play, and I'm not quite sure I'm going to play it, but I was scrambling for a last play, and this is the one I chose. I get a little value because it's -15. They're not playing a team that I really respect at all. It's a good team, but not a great team. St. Louis played San Francisco really tough in the first half, and then they played Seattle really tough for a full game. Now, sometimes some people say it's a letdown game. I don't know if bad teams let up or let down, get up for games or get down. They just show up, and they're well coached. They did a couple of good things against Seattle. I think they're more confident than they've ever been. I have a season wins bet against them. They're playing a team that I think is a bit overrated from their last win, and I think that's what you have to attack here, teams that win impressively and are overrated because of it. I'm not convinced how good Kansas City is. They're kind of an av. To me, that if you're 7, a wise man once told me you have to be significantly better to be a 7-point favorite at home. And they're certainly better, but significantly is not where I would put this. I would say St. Louis is a little bit worse than average team now, getting closer to average. They beat Seattle, and they gave San Francisco a half, and San Francisco couldn't get to their quarterback. I highly doubt Kansas City will. And Kansas City's a good team, but not a great team, and not a Super Bowl contender, and maybe barely a playoff contender. So I'm taking St. Louis +7.
Betting number 257, the St. Louis Rams +7 over the Kansas City Chiefs. 4 plays in, 3 more to come, including the best bet. About 10 minutes remaining in the program. Eddie, keep an eye on the clock. Play number 5.
Yep, I got you. Number 139, 140, 57 under with Pittsburgh and Georgia Tech. This line seems way ridiculously high for me. It's like they haven't watched Pitt football this year. Pitt likes to run the clock. That's pretty much their game plan. They go ahead and get their huge running back in there, James Conner, that you like so much, John. And they run him about 35 times a game if they can. Every once in a while they'll throw a pass in there. And then Georgia Tech, they want to run the clock too. So 2 teams trying to run the clock out on each other. I think that 57 is pretty bargain.
Game 139-140, Georgia Tech and Pitt under the total of 57. Do note, both handicappers submitted their plays prior to showtime. Neither one privy of the other one's plays, and Dink, you landed on the same total.
I did, which is funny. I didn't look at Eddie's totals. He sometimes gives me them during the day, and I don't. And I came up with this one on my own, and I was quite proud of myself when I saw it was one of Eddie's plays. So one of the reasons I liked it, besides for some of the reasons he mentioned, is that Georgia Tech and North Carolina had such a big score, and I think you're getting a few extra points based on that overreaction, because that's probably all North Carolina, giving up scores at will and being able to score at will. So I, too, think this is an overreaction and too high a number.
So the 7-game competition, now a 6-game competition, is both Dink and Drink are on Georgia Tech and Pitt under the total of 57. Drink your milkshake, play 6.
Yeah, play 6. I considered it maybe being my best bet because I know you have the points come into matter here, but it's 189, 190. It's Old Dominion against Western Kentucky. 77.5, I think, is what I'm down for. I got at a better number this afternoon, but that's okay. Real quick, Old Dominion has no defense at all. They give up 550 yards on average to their opponents, and we're not talking like great, offense. If they're doing this against Middle Tennessee State, they really just can't stop anybody from throwing at will or running at will against them. And then Western Kentucky, they can score 50, 60 points a game. Somebody in this game is going to score in the high 40s. If it gets close, then it's, this is going to be a basketball score, no doubt about it. I don't think that either team can run the clock out on the other because they don't run the ball. And I don't even think Western Kentucky ran the ball 6 times last week. I mean, the last time they played. I mean, they just get Dowdy back there and they just let him go nuts. And then Heineke for Old Dominion, he's thrown for 13,000 yards in his career. He's going to end up in the NFL next year, I think. I mean, somebody's going to pick him up. But this will be just a shootout. No doubt about it.
Go over the total of 77.5. Game 189-190. ODU and Western Kentucky over 77.5. Dink, play 6.
Play 6 is one of those ugly home dogs. Jacksonville +6, and it's against Miami, who played Chicago, and I think I'm keying my whole contest on how much I dislike Chicago. I don't. 6 at home is 12-ish on the road. It's a big number for Miami, another team that I think is an average team and not really a playoff team, against a team that's bad, but bad at home and, stays in a lot of games. They've covered the last 2. They played Pittsburgh well, and we saw that Pittsburgh was capable against Houston, kind of freaky capable, but capable. Having to win by 7 or more is not an easy task on the road. Of course, they're the better team. They're 6-point favorite on the road, but not enough. It's not enough. It's not like I thought Seattle was better than St. Louis. I think these 2 teams are closer. Of course, Jacksonville can stink it up, but they don't have to. And they've impressed me the last 2 weeks in coming back, getting a little bit together. So Jacksonville +6 at home against the Dolphins.
The home dog in the Miami-Jacksonville game, betting number 264, the Jags +6 over the Dolphins. Now we're to the best bet segment of the show.
One thing also, I think that this line will come down by the way it moved up. I have a feeling this line will close 4.5.
How good are you at predicting line movements in the NFL?
Better than picking winners.
Drink, how good are you at predicting where the numbers dance in college football? You mentioned all the market movement. How good normally are you predicting line movement?
I would say that I beat a lot of closers. This last week was the first time that in 19 weeks that I haven't beat the closing line by double digits. So, and that was only because of one game, Akron. Akron got me.
Drink your best bet.
Play number 195, Ohio State. I think you said it's 14, right?
Correct.
Okay. It's pretty much a gimme. Ohio State is absolutely rolling right now. They have so much momentum. It's ridiculous. They've scored 66, 50, 52, and 56 in the last 4 weeks. And Rutgers, who is a common opponent that Penn State faced, Penn State was only able to get 13 points against Rutgers, and Ohio State just got 56. Penn State has a tremendous coach, make no doubt about it. Franklin is doing, amazing work. But he has very limited talent. He has a makeshift offensive line, and he cannot run the ball with whatsoever. They're too young, and they're kind of injury-prone. And he has a great quarterback, but he's not mobile at all, and he's getting sacked constantly. Hackenberg will probably be in the NFL next year. I don't see him staying another year and getting beat up. And, they throw for a lot of yards, but they don't ever score. And it's really hard. It's really easy for a defense to defend when they know exactly what's coming. And Ohio State, they're not a great defense, not to me. But they can definitely hang a big number here, and it's on national television. And they need to start making, these huge wins count in front of large crowds if they want to get any kind of Final Four thing. If they sweep the board for the rest of the year out, they're unfairly probably going to get in. But, as a best bet, 14, I think that they could win this game by 35. There's never, Urban Meyer is absolutely the worst at running up a score. So if they get ahead, watch out.
For contest purposes, we grade the handicappers against the current numbers at Chris, or the numbers when they submit the plays, I should say. Betting number 195, Ohio State -14 over Penn State if you're betting the game. Plenty of 13.5s out there. What number did you lay on the game?
13.
Dink, your best bet.
Well, we touched on my best bet, and it's a late night Saturday night special. Nevada -3 at Hawaii. The major reason is the line movement. It went from 3 to 4 and immediately kicked down to 3. And there would be no rush to take the 4 if you thought it was going to go higher, unless you plan to lay the 3. I think somebody will be laying this 3 back in spades and didn't want the number to get away from them. I also think Nevada's significantly better than Hawaii. Maybe I'm overrating BYU, but Nevada was way off the charts better than BYU, and Hawaii was not off the charts better than Wyoming. And somewhere along the line, BYU has to be better than Wyoming, even though they don't look it at all anymore. But Nevada's kind of a good team. We thought they wouldn't be a good team. Eddie and I discussed that at the beginning of the season, but they've proved us wrong. I think they're a legit team. They're going to be a bowl team, and Hawaii's not competitive in some of the spots.
I like your play.
So
thank you.
Dink's best bet, and Drink agrees. Betting number 199, Nevada -3 over Hawaii. Quick follow-up question, Dink. You talked about the line movement early in the betting cycle. What do you think the number closes, Nevada, Hawaii?
It's not like I can make a number. It's just that I sensed that number was phony back then.
It was a setup, right? And
I think there'll be a move on Nevada. That's all I'm going to say.
There'll be a move on Nevada.
I agree. I made the line -5.5 today.
Drink, thanks so much for your contributions. Again, alpinerescueteam.org is what Drink is playing for. Dink is playing for our favorite charity at EOG, sctbrescue.org. Caroline Betts does such a fine job with that organization. Drink, 30 seconds. Your nickname, Drink Your Milkshake, comes from a bet at the poker table, doesn't it?
Yeah, correct. I'm lactose intolerant. I lost the bet. I had to drink a milkshake.
That'll wrap up our fast-moving program.
That was quicker than your Alpine story.
Thank God. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, Eddie. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the EOG Sports
Good luck,
Hour.
everybody.